Very good morning and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries and researchers here. Generally, when we speak of some conferences or workshops, mostly it is only from an academic background and they normally deal with theoretical aspects. But I think this is one of its kind where it is a wet workshop and that too with an industrial partner. So in that way I'm really happy to be a part of this wet workshop. And in earlier days, if you think of the jargon words, much earlier days, it was post-graduation, PhD, research and maybe PDF. But now the jargon words are translational research, interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research, patent, technology transfer, commercialization and traditional knowledge. So I think I want you all to be familiar with these wordings. So I think aptly we are having this wet workshop today, which is dealing with translational research. And recently I came across a nomination form for a fellowship. It is related to an reputed science academies organization. I think you might have heard of at least a life membership, Indian Science Congress and so on. So like that we do have science academies where they call for the forms, and generally it is nomination forms like. So in earlier days, if you see the forms, they ask for your curriculum vitae, in short your biodata or so, where they ask only for the publications, and slowly it became peer reviewed publications. And then the word became international indexed journals. And now when it comes to ranking, accreditation, or when it comes to such reputed organizations for the nominations or membership, now they ask for publications with citations and impact factor in Thomson Reuters. So they have started to spell out the publications. So this is very recent. Just last month I came across a nomination form where they are asking for 10 papers which involves translational research, number one. Secondly, which has got good citations, which means they want to know whether your research work is visible. Publicly it is visible and somebody is using it. Thirdly, they are asking for good impact factor so that the publication is in a good journal. You know that it's a criteria for a good journal, impact factor, and they have spelled it out as Thomson Reuters, right? So these are the jargon words now, and you should be very familiar. And when we speak of herbal medicines, we are familiar with the word traditional knowledge. Okay, so no traditional knowledge will be useful unless it is scientifically validated. So even though we have a Google Godmother and YouTube Godfather for preparation of ointments, still unless it is tested and validated, it is not going to be useful or applicable. If you think of Ayurvedic medicines, even though Ayurveda is used by all, it is not accepted globally. The main reason is because it still requires scientific validation. Okay, have you heard of curcumin? It's a metabolite. What is the plant source for curcumin? Turmeric. Okay. Initially, the PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty, which means in India, if you file a patent, we call it as patent. Okay. But if the patent is filed globally, we call it as a PCT. So I just want you all to be familiar. That's why I'm using this. The PCT was given to an foreign country, and our CSIR in New Delhi, it really took hardships and fought to get back this patent, which was on the application of curcumin. And how they fought back the patent was, they had to collect all sort of evidences starting from Andakalathu Kalvettu, More Kolambu and from Pativaidiyam, where they used to use turmeric along with salt for healing wounds, right? And all these stories, I came when I had a conversation with a scientist who was those days 80 plus. You can imagine those days 80 plus, and I met him in an international conference where he was seated near me, and I was just asking him where he worked. Okay, and he said, I am still working for Government of India. I am involved in a patent. It's a multi-crore patent for Government of India on Rudraksha. You all know that Rudraksha, no? He said, even though Rudraksha has got a scientific traditional knowledge, traditional knowledge, scientific validation is required. So the government has given him a crore project where he is going to scientifically validate the use or the medicinal properties of Rudraksha when a person wears it. And in that context also he was talking to me about curcumin. He said he was invited for an curcumin discussion, and you all know that curcumin is a metabolite with all sort of properties like antiseptic, anti-cancer and whatnot, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory and several properties. Okay, so he was called for an anti-cancer and forum, where the foreign country which had initially taken this patent from us, and only after later days CSIR fought and got it back, but initially it was with them. So they had actually conducted a clinical trial where they extracted curcumin from turmeric and they started filling it in capsules and giving it to several patients. Either they are the early stage of cancer or they are normal people, so that you can, like an immunity measure, they wanted to prevent cancer. As a preventive measure also it was administered. But the results were not positive, meaning it did not come out as we expected. So we expect curcumin to be anti-cancerous, so it should have an effect. If you, I'm not giving you the correct numbers, but in a clinical trial, if you take 1,000 people, we expect it to be successful for at least 60%, but that did not happen. So during this discussion, this scientist from India, he made a remark that it is always good that we can go by theoretical knowledge or scientific principles, right? But when we used scientific principles, it should be clubbed with traditional knowledge, and traditional knowledge should be definitely scientifically validated. So in that context, he was telling the forum that is because curcumin is an organic molecule. So all those who are chemistry people or biochemistry people, they know the structure of curcumin. So it is soluble only in organic solvents. When it comes out of the capsule, the absorption is very slow. But when it comes to sodium curcumate as a sodium salt, that is why he referred the Pativaidiyam, where salt was mixed with turmeric and it was taken for wound healing. And even in our preparations, he quoted this Morparaga as an example, where at the last stage of preparation only we add salt. So to cooking, you know that whenever you involve tomato, you will add salt so that it will cook faster. But when it comes to such preparations where turmeric is used, you have to use salt only at the end. Otherwise, the curcumin will be degraded. So when you add salt, it becomes sodium curcumate. All sodium salts are water soluble, can be easily absorbed from the stomach. So this is a sort of traditional knowledge which should be blended with scientific validation. Only then it will be useful to the community. So on that note, I'm really happy that such a web workshop is being organized, and I hope that this will enable you to bring out a product, test it, validate, take it for at least for MSME registration. If you feel it is very novel, you can even come for patenting. R&D cell will tell you the procedures for patenting. And once again, I thank the organizers and wish the organizers and the participants for a successful event. Thank you.